We are on. This is my stuff up. I should have ordered this in December last year once we got off the dyno, but with Christmas time, everything else going on, I left it and I ordered it late. I want to say thanks to Pete at Circel D, whom has hooked us up with another stator. This is a very important part of the converter, and because what actually happened was we gave Pete the wrong data. So originally when we were building Kevo, we actually said it was going to have a G42. We told him it was going to be a different rear gear, and Pete worked off that data, and then obviously the stator is wrong. So now we have a new O-ring and a stator that Pete now says is going to be a lot better suited for this combo. So I've actually never replaced the stator in the converter before, so I'm going to learn as well as you, or if you know how it's done, you can yell at me in the comments for doing it wrong. As far as I'm aware, it's a pretty simple job, just to basically unbolt the converter, lay it out like a sandwich, and then put the sandwich back together how it was stacked and bolt it back together. This is a bolt together converter from Circel D, and if it were a bolt together converter, basically means that you can make a stator change with ease, and also in the instance of a failure, you can also clean the converter with ease too. That's what we're doing. I suppose we can pretty well just hook into pulling this out and spilling ATF everywhere. I've got my trusty strap on the gearbox so I don't pull the gearbox with me. And then 1, 2, 3. Got him! Alright. Let's fumble our way through this and do it right.
To stop the converter from flying around the bench, we're just bolting it down to keep it stable. Once all the bolts are removed, we can then split the converter. We were using a screwdriver here to do this, but there actually is a thread in the cover which allows you to wind a bolt through and split the converter. There's nothing wrong with using a screwdriver, but you do run the risk of scratching the surface, which is not what you want to do.
How cool does the inside of a converter look? You can't say that doesn't look trippy. Whee!
Oh, spinners.
Spinners!
Oh no, I've got them mixed up now. Nah, just joking. I'm assuming you know how a converter works. If you don't know how a converter works, do a Google. Really very interesting concept. I don't think that I am, goddamn compressor, I don't think that I'm qualified to explain it. There's plenty of awesome videos online for you to watch. What we're replacing is the stator. Now, this is the one that's come out of it. Basically, the converter was too tight, and there's quite a difference in these two stators now. This one has it's got 19 vanes compared to 16 on the new stator, and also the drive angle is slightly different too by the looks of it, which is going to drastically change the performance. What we want to do is actually be able to get the car on to boost, potentially without using nitrous. That is a big thing they wanted to do. This may help. We might get there with it. But even just getting it up onto boost on the trans brake, it wasn't even before anyway. So now definitely this will make such a difference for us. So look, we are working on, it seems like a welding bench, but it actually is my clean bench. So keeping everything clean and tidy definitely is one thing to make sure. I hope that I've explained that well enough for you. As I said, there's some awesome tech videos online if you're keen to learn more about converters. There's lots to know. It's a bit of a, not so much now, I suppose, with data acquisition with race cars. We know so much, so we can modify modify items correctly without guessing. It was a lot of guesswork back in the day with some old school stuff because you didn't have the data that you do have these days with your Haltech that tells you what's going on. Now I'm going to be that guy and keep this O-ring, even though I won't ever use it, but I'll just hang on to it for good luck in the future.
You definitely want to keep everything clean. This is probably not the best use for a vacuum, but they don't call it a workshop vacuum for nothing. We're then giving everything a wipe down with some CRC brake clean and making sure that the O-ring groove is free of any debris.
You can tell that I wore that shirt a lot. Sorry, Red Bull.
Put this in your drawer because you told the internet that's what you're doing.
There is 2 locating dowels in this cover, so it can only go on one way. Once you line it up, we can then tighten all the bolts in a star pattern and then give them a once over with the torque wrench. You can see here I'm noting down the stator part number on the front cover. This is just a reference so that I can recall what stator has been fitted in this converter. We can then slip the converter back into the power glide, making sure it's fully seated into the pump. This is then double checked when we measure our converter setback clearance. You want the converter to slip back about 3 to 5 millimeters. This clearance ensures the converter can move freely and engage with the pump without binding or any excessive wear. Thread locker is usually used in most applications for converter bolts, and I went pretty hard using it when I first installed this converter. So we want to clean these threads out before we install the new bolts. You don't want to use a tap as that can potentially damage the threads. A bolt with a slit cut down the middle will do the job. It will clean the threads and catch any schmutz hiding down the hole.
Power glide bolted back in. We double check converter setback clearance as it's always a good thing to do. Everything basically bolted back in relatively easy enough, nothing too crazy. I wanted to talk about the linear position sensor on the shifter here. Having gear position on the Haltech dash or combined within the Haltech is a massive advantage. You can set up your neutral safety switch with it. This being a power glide, you can get kits these days. People sell brackets and everything. We've basically just welded a couple of tabs off the end of one, the linkage off the side of the box, and then 2 on the shifter bracket that bolts onto the bottom of the pan here. It's pretty simple to do. The position sensor we've used is a HT 011211, I believe is the sensor. If you've got a Turbo 350 or a Turbo 400, that may be different. But these linear position sensors come in a different range of sizes that you can use. We're also using linear position sensors for the shock travel. So we've actually got one in the front and we've got one in the front, one in the rear for shock travel, basically front and rear. You can have that in every corner if you would like, but it's for just to kind of see us, are we lifting the front? What's the rear doing? That's what we need it for. We've also got the dump valve. I'm sure I covered on all this stuff when we originally put the car together. So that's I don't even know what brand that is actually. I think it might be an ATF speed dump valve, as well as the power glide adapter for the 2JZ is also ATF speed, including the flex plate, even though it's not much of doesn't have much flex in it because it's billet alloy. Plus that goes straight onto the Circel D converter. It's a 6-bolt converter too, so usually your Chevys only run 3 bolts, but brace applications, obviously they go up to 6. It's very filthy underneath here. I really want to get it a clean. I think I need to go see Dave at Underbelly Restos, all this dust everywhere. But all the sensors are now hooked up, trans temp, line pressure, dump valve solenoid, transwake solenoid, and all the earths and stuff are done. We pretty well can throw the tail shaft in there, but we're not going to do that because we're going to pull the diff center out and change the diff gears from a 3.5 to a 3.79. Again, something I haven't done before, so I'm going to throw myself in the deep end. I have spoken to Josh at Geared Up Drivelines, who helped us out with the VN last week, and he is going to come down and show us through it, I suppose. It's something that I've always gotten someone else to do, but I really want to give it a crack because it can't be that bad, I'm sure of it. And if I stuff it up, then it's going to be Josh's problem.
We interrupt this program to bring you a special announcement straight from the office. If you'd like to support the show, please consider buying some merchandise. You may like to grab yourself a Kevo shirt. Alternatively, please consider sharing this video to your mates so that they can enjoy it too. If you'd like to see Kevo in person, or come down and give myself, Geordie or Westy a high five, we're going to be at Grow Racing Pulse Performance Expo this Sunday, Brisbane Showgrounds. It's going to be an awesome weekend. Come down and say hi. We're going to have merch there on display too, so come down, throw us your cash and support the show and support the performance industry. There's so many awesome vendors there this weekend. I'm really excited to go down. So come and see Kevo in person. Come and give us a high five. I'll see you all there.
Doesn't go any colder.
If you've played the 9-inch game before, or any diff center game before, you'll know how annoying it is to get the third member out. Last time we had the diff out, we actually drilled and tapped a 6x1 thread just into a thick part of the housing of the third member, so that we can then use it as a what's the correct word there? It's like a pry.
A jack. We've always just called it a jacking thread.
A jack thread? There you go, jacking thread. Thanks, Westy.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Time to drop this on my head.
Oh.
Missed it. Missed it. I think I got it that time. Got it.
Little bit of a side quest here. We're just making up some mounts so we can hold the diff center on the bench and work on it with it being secured. We're just welding this box steel to the steel bench, which can then be cut off once we're finished.
So this is a patent pending Wood West Industries 9-inch differential holder with accessible pinion. Good one, I like that.
Don't try and copy our design. There's no way you're going to get these angles to match up like we have.
It's on the piss hard, eh?
I was lying to you. I think I said we were changing out for a 379, but this is actually a 389 gear set. So we've got our important instructions for ring gear and pinion set. I haven't done this before. I mean, I have actually done it before back in the day with just a rattle gun, and away I went. I winged it. This is my Toyota Crown F-Series Toyota diff. Setting this up, I'm going to give it a shot. I want to learn how to do it. It's something that isn't too hard to do. Getting the bearing off the pinion and putting it back onto this may be a bit of an issue. We probably can put this in the freezer actually. That might help us out to shrink this a little bit. So look, as I said, never done it, so I'm going to wing my way through it. But the only way to learn is if you do it yourself. So that's the way I learn anyway. So let's give it a crack.
I'll just touch on what I mentioned there. Everyone learns in different ways. For me, I'm very big on practical learning. I love pulling things apart and seeing how it works in front of me with my eyes, using my hands. I never really did well with any theory kind of learning. It kind of just goes in one ear and out the other while I'm looking at Facebook Marketplace. So physically doing this myself is the best way that I can learn this skill, and I'm glad that I've done this because I have learned a lot, as we find out later on in the episode. The instructions mention that the back face of the cram wheel may have some taper after it's been heat treated, and we found that ours actually had 8 thou of taper, which is, look, I don't have a precise straight edge here, but it still was quite tapered. So we're using just a flat piece of glass and some wet and dry, combined with some CRC 556 lube to run this cram wheel back and forward on and remove as much of this taper as we can.
It started off with 320 and it's barely touched the sides. So we're gonna go all the way down to what do you got there? 80. 80, and then hopefully take the grunt of this. 8 thou is a lot, so we'll see how we go. We're not quite there yet. Very, very, very close, but there's still a bit of taper, so we've decided to try and help our hands a little bit.
Even runs elliptically, it's so good, bro.
Removing the pinion from the pinion support wasn't much of a biggie. It literally just slid straight off once we got the nut off. But getting the inner bearing off the pinion may be a bit difficult. So we're using some 4mm steel here, which we're cutting out so we can actually get a grip on the inside of the bearing, so we don't damage it when removing it. But unfortunately, my freehand skills on the plasma cutter were not up to scratch.
So I tried to freehand with the plasma cutter. A little bit dodgy, so now we're using the arc droid to cut out a circle. We tried to cut a semicircle, but the arc droid turns off once it gets off the material because it's not earthing to the machine. So now we're going to try that. Hopefully it still is on by the time it reaches this other one, and then we end up with not a crappy circle. We end up with the same size as the bearing, which is going to hopefully work for us.
Plasma cutter on and run it.
Man, that is perfect. If that doesn't catch, I think we're screwed.
Unfortunately, the bearing was super stubborn and it didn't want to budge, so we've resorted to using some heat, which we can expand the bearing. It does damage a bearing, so we're not going to reuse this, but at least we can get the bearing off the pinion. The next problem was this pinion actually has a sleeve fitted, which again we had to use some heat to remove. It was quite stubborn, but we eventually got there in the end.
Don't touch it.
Righto, so we've learned some things in doing this whole diff. Pinion bearing presses over the pinion, or so we thought, but what it does do is it presses over a collar, which presses over the pinion. And we were quite challenged in getting that off, but we were successful. We managed to get it off and it's still reusable. So now the next step is to press this over our new pinion, our 389, and get the whole thing reassembled, which is basically the reverse of what we've just done. Hopefully we can get it done a little quicker than how we just did it now in getting it apart. But that's the game you play when you love cars, eh?
I don't really have the right tooling here though either, so you're going to take that with you.
No, I'm going to take this back up to my shop. I've got an arbor press which is going to start this pressing back on the pinion shaft nice and square, and then we'll finish it off in the big dog hydraulic press and get it all home.
Ice cream.
There you go, no press required. Next part of this 3D puzzle is pressing these bearing seats back into the pinion support. We have a new bearing going on our pinion, and that will require a new seat. Keep these pieces of brass under the bench, under the press. They just get modified for certain tasks. In this case, it's going to sit on top of our bearing seat and allow us to put even pressure around the seat as we push it back into the pinion support. I've got one for the large bearing here, and I've made one up for the smaller one on the back side as well. So we'll go back out to the arbor press and see how we get on with this lot. That was really best case scenario. You saw the collar heated up and dropped over the pinion. That's shrunk fit on there now. That is not coming off without a tremendous amount of effort. I've put this in the lathe and checked it. This is running true. That's perfect. These bearing seats pressed in very nicely with the arbor press. It's a really good tool for this sort of thing because it starts the item going into the bore perfectly square, and it won't dig into the sides and cock and create, you know, problems or dramas, or potentially even damage parts and break things. The smaller diameter bearing just pushed all the way home quite easily with our tool, and the big one did the same, and we literally just put it in the hydraulic press and just gave it a little bit more effort just to seat it. Had a little bit more resistance than the other one, but they're both going home very nicely, and I'm very happy with the way that's turned out. So the next step is back to the skid factory.
Fifth member on, seventh member on. Old bearing, let's do it. Slip that on. Never underestimate the tiny shot press. It gets the job done.
I've called in the big guns over here. Hey, George.
Howdy.
Yeah. Josh has come down, geared up driver lines to help us set the gear mesh. We've got the pinion sorted in the carrier. We did replace the bearing just because we found one locally, and better to have a new one rather than the old one. So that's all good. Free as a bird. Josho, tell us what we're doing.
Well,
Where do we start?
now they need help because they've got all this together now, so that's all good. But that's feels good. They've actually got that right. So what we're going to do is we're now going to get that in there, check the mark, and then adjust the pinion depth.
Sweet. And the pinion depth's just using shims on the carrier.
Well, they call that a pinion support. Yes.
Okay.
That's how you do it.
All
Pinion
right.
support, fancy word.
Thank you. And what do you think about my my special Diff holder?
Are we allowed honesty?
Go for it.
I don't dig it. That's weird to me.
Setting the pinion depth and getting the cram wheel and pinion mesh correct is where experience comes into play, and that's why I've called Josh from Geared Up Drivelines to come down and share his knowledge. I definitely probably would have gotten this wrong, so thank you so much for your time, Josh. I really appreciate your help.
Alright, so basically what happened was I was trying to work today and yesterday, and Woody kept ringing me up, so now I'm here, which is really unfortunate because he's got cold beers in the fridge. So he just wanted me to come down and make sure that they'd set the pinion up right and we were going to set the correct pinion depth. So this is what we had originally, so if they ran this like this, that car probably would have gone down the street once or twice and then it would have been really noisy. So then we've added, I think it was 12 thou, and this is the mark we've got now, which is a lot more full. It's boarded up, it's bubbly on each end, and I'm pretty happy with that.
So you saying backlash? What would that mean then? 825, this one.
That will be the gear set.
Oh, match with the pinion?
Matched.
Yep. And then backlash 008.
To 10.
Oh, 8
That's
to
its
10 thou.
tolerance,
Yeah, okay.
That's its tolerance, that's what it wants. So
Mint.
no less than 8 thou, no greater than 10 thou. You want it in between. And if you've got any more than 8 to 10, that means your hemisphere or spool is bent.
Okay. And you've seen these things, but you've seen them bent, you've seen pinions bent before too?
I've seen pinions bent, hemispheres bent. They bend a lot when you have a gear failure. So obviously when you've got that much power, the gear blows up and everything comes in between them, it'll push them over and they bend them through either the journal or the actual face of the hemisphere.
Yeah, wow. Cool. Thanks for coming down, bro. Appreciate that. Legend. I'll buy you some shims.
Some shims, yeah, I need some more. This is my last one.
Is this now under your warranty because you've done it? Or?
Oh, no.
How long's your warranty, Westy?
Oh, my warranty's driveway.
Once I pack a beer here, that's it, done.
Now's the time to reflect on our decision to change your gear set. Would I do it again? Yes, now knowing kind of what's the process, I definitely will be getting Westy to lend a hand. If you're going to do this kind of job yourself, really consider contacting someone like Josh from Geared Up Drivelines to do this job for you. Josh's got all the right tools, he's got the knowledge about it. Part of being a mechanic is problem solving, so you have to come up with solutions to how am I going to get that bearing off, how are we going to mount the diff on a bench. That's just how things go. Now knowing what I know, I would do this again, but it's not an easy task, and hats off to the guys that do it. We've definitely...
Yeah, we've learned a
learned
heap.
something.
This has been a really good task for myself and Woody as well. I've never done a diff before to the extent that we've pulled this one down, and the information that we've gleaned off Diff Guide here today has been really good, and I'll be able to take that forward. I would have complete confidence to do something like this again myself with Woody. But like as Woody said, if you've got a project like this and you're unsure, get a professional in. You will break it. It will cost you money.
At least get someone on the phone.
At least get someone on the phone.
Maybe FaceTime. Why don't we use FaceTime? Everyone else uses FaceTime. It's 9-inch is obviously way different to every other diff there is. Nissan do things differently, so does Toyota. So everyone's got their own different manufacturing processes. Apparently 9-inch is quite simple. But
within this particular 9-inch here, this is an aftermarket aluminium carrier, and there's differences in between this versus the standard Ford stuff versus, so definitely do your research and
and you find
be
out
comfortable in yourself before you
find out you got the wrong size bearings for your big bearings for your small bearing diff. Sweet. All right, now this is going to go back in. Backlash is set. We're happy. The gear mesh is perfect. And throw it back in the car. Then I can bust out the laptop and we can fire Kevo back up, which I'm really keen to do. Really, really keen.
It's been too long.
It's a GJ. I can't. I know. I have something to admit. I am very, very hopeless when it comes to using the Haltech software. Luckily, this legend right here can remote in and help us set up. What we've got to do is, one, change the crank gear is now a VVTi crank gear, so we've got to change that over, and we've got to set the timing. Yes, I actually do know how to do this, but it's just easier for me to get on the blower to Kai and say, hey man, you got the spare 10 minutes. We have to bleed the rail currently, so you'll see here I actually don't have the mechanical pump hooked up. That's so that we can prime the fuel pump and basically fill the rail, fill the surge tank. Once everything's full, we can then connect up the mechanical pump, because having no fuel in the rail was making it hard to start last time we were there. So Kai's currently doing his thing.
Yeah, we're just about ready.
Sweet. Well, I'll grab the timing light, I suppose, then, eh?
Yeah.
Sweet. Taking a load.
Yeah, we can probably, well, we can see if it, pulls RPM and stuff, which it should.
Sweet.
Yeah.
We'll just prime that fuel pump a few more times, bro. I just want to make sure this surge tank's full. So 1 second, all right?
All right, I'm good to go whenever you are, Kai. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Yep.
Yep. Looks
I think
good.
it's like 10 before.
Well, we can, if it wants to, I mean, if we want to keep trying to crank it, still only got like no fuel pressure, like in the rail. So if we want to keep cranking it or aero start it or something to let it fire, whatever you want to do, just to get some pump speed up to purge the fuel system.
Oh, so it's still not getting fuel pressure?
It's only like 4 pounds or something. Yeah, it's
okay.
Like when you're cranking it, yeah.
All right, well, let's,
Do you want to crank the oil pressure before you fire it?
have we got oil pressure?
Yeah, crank again. I'm sure we had.
Crank again, Miller?
I can't see that.
Yeah, I got it.
0 at the moment, but yes, it's only like 5. And that's 4. Probably gonna...
Just cut it.
And still no oil pressure there.
Yep. Is there oil on the ground?
There's a filter on it, isn't it?
I got you on the phone, on speaker, with the laptop on the dash. Not that you can, well, you can see the laptop, but... And Geordie's...
And if you can see me, I'm sitting at my desk at home with actually...
The GoPro's got 1% battery, that'd be right. Standard.
that'd be right.
GoPro batteries are the worst. I'm just going to change that out, actually. Are you like sitting at home in your undies with a ginger beer in your hand?
Hang on, what's that, sorry?
I said, are you in your office in your undies with a ginger beer in your hand?
You're not allowed. I've actually got red wine, mate.
Oh, look at him go. What kind of red are we talking about? Shiraz, Cabernet Sauvignon?
It's a Pinot Noir or whatever, man.
Pinot Noir, nice.
Yeah.
Pinot on a warm night.
Just something a bit lighter, you know what I mean? Easy to drink. Yeah.
Southern climates, the better Pinots, mate. You want to go for like a Tassie Pinot, maybe a WA or something, South Australia, or New Zealand, yeah?
Yeah, this one's it's one of the pepper jack ones from New Zealand. It's quite tasty.
That's a fine drop, that one.
Yeah.
Good one.
Anyway, yeah, let's give that another go.
All right, sweet.
Okay.
Yep. Are you all right with that? A bit of a maiden voyage for the Commo. So good to finally drive this thing after I don't even know how long it's been. The feeling to drive this money pit, yeah, is just unreal. The
that getting the car started just then, obviously, it wasn't a first start, so the process was streamlined a little bit, but at the same time I was peaking, so I didn't cover a whole lot of stuff. The oil pressure thing, what actually happened was when I pulled the engine out, I actually pulled the wires out of the sensor. I re-terminated the Deutsch plug, and then I actually had the pressure and temp the wrong way around. It's a Siltec pressure and temp sensor, so they were back to front, and that's why it wasn't reading. We verified oil pressure just with a pot of oil off the turbo feed, and we knew they had oil pressure. We then got it running, topped all the fluids up, everything was good. I'm out, taking it for a drive. As I said, for the first time, this feels amazing. It's so good to drive my car. Got a lot of money invested in this thing, and the feeling just cutting a lap with your mate is unreal for me right now. I want to give a shout out to Westy. I threw him in the deep end in this episode and sent him on his way with a GoPro, and he did really well, man. I was actually very impressed. You're very well spoken on camera.
Thanks, dude.
And it's good to do something different too, like doing the diff. We've learned a lot, so
Yeah, Diff was a good one.
nah, sick, beautiful day. We've got another dyno day with Kai booked in, and that's going to be next episode. We've already got a bunch of footage in this episode already, so dyno's actually happening in 2 days. And then from there, I'm pretty keen to hit the track. There's still a lot more to go on. We've actually weighed the car. Here we go. Leave your comment below what you think Kevo weighs. This, it's pretty well on par actually for a drag car.
It's not bad, yeah. No, it's pretty reasonable actually, yeah, I would thought.
Big diff, cast iron block, and obviously a lot of metalwork in the car too, so it's not it's not as light as what it used to be, but it's still it's okay, I think. So leave me a comment what you think it's going to weigh, and we'll see you next time. There's so much more stuff to happen in this car. It's nowhere near ready for the track, but actually like a prep track that I can get teched. So I'm going to go see Matty Rogan and get a whole bunch of stuff done. We weighed the car to actually get some rear springs. I need to get some lighter rear springs for it. The Shockworks front coilovers are okay for now. I've set the ride height, but I'm going to have to get Chris up and work his magic, because for me, I am an amateur at that stuff, and if you've got people like Chris from Shockworks who know what they're doing and can set your car up, he's the man to go and see. That's it. So thanks for watching another episode of the Skid Factory. Yes! High five, brother. Hell yeah.
Good job.
So stoked to have this out, and
Those first few miles, those first couple of startups of dynos, always sketchy in any new build. There's so many things that get addressed that could or would go wrong, and it's usually not the things you thought of because you already thought of that, you know. So this is a very good feeling for sure.
awesome feeling. All right, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on the Skid Factory. If you want to support the show, you can buy some merch at theskidfactory.com. Cheers, see you next time.
See ya.
This is why you end up with 1 million gigabytes of footage, because you leave the camera in the corner and it records for 10 minutes and 20 seconds. Gotta love that one.
Hi. There's the confidence. Your hands on your hips, you're ready to go.
Hi. You're recording now, aren't you?
Point to the corner for me and tell me your favourite video.
Favourite video?
Yeah, favourite Skid Factory video.
Oh,
Mental micro, surely.
fuck, I don't know. Probably the one that I was in.
Yeah, there we go. Sweet. Put that one in the corner. Where do I buy some merch? Which corner's that one in?
What am I looking? What corner? What am I looking in a corner for? I don't understand the corner.
This is right at the very end.
You gotta point in the corners, man.
Oh,
Things will
corner.
pop up for us.
Yeah, there we go. Thanks.
Merch.
There you go.
Whatever
Perfect.
this is, I don't have any merch. But anyways, look. So,
Bye, have a great time.